Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 New Jersey International Film Festival Filmmaker Q&A session. Today we have three wonderful people that are going to be talking about their film Stargazer. And before I introduce you to them, I just would like to let you know that the International Film Festival is in its 28th year and will be screening films from June 2nd to June 11th on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. All the films will be available online. We're a hybrid film festival. 9 of the 11 screenings will also have in-person components where there'll be an in-person screening. And all these guys will be at the screening of Stargazer, which is the movie we're talking about today, when we're going to be screening it on the closing day of the festival, which is June 11th. The in-person screening's at 7 p.m. And hope you can join us, and you can get more information from the makers and the actors directly at this in-person screening. I'm going to share a screen at the end of our Q&A so you can see how to buy tickets and stuff. But right now I wanted to introduce you to these wonderful people who I've already met at a previous interview that we did, although I'm now being introduced to Rob Ackerman, who's next to Alan McIntyre. Alan is the director of the film, the DP and the editor, and Rob Ackerman is the co-writer. And below me is Kate Ginna. She is the lead actor, the star, and she is also the co-writer. So welcome, guys.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I love your film. It's a lot of fun. Could you give me an overview, Alan? Give me the tagline and then the synopsis.
All right. Well, it's about Stargazer follows a young woman trying desperately to bring attention to a forgotten astronomer, a woman who came to America from England in the 1920s, and in her studies discovered the nature of the universe, what stars are made of. And unfortunately, or fortunately, her observations went against the science of the time. So her male, the men that in her department kind of forced her to renounce her discovery, and then later took credit for it themselves. So this follows a young woman who's trying to a young woman who's trying to basically bring her this story to life.
And she does. And so she's written this undergraduate thesis, and she's now trying to shop it around to magazines for publication, and she's hitting brick wall after brick wall. So Kate and Rob, since you're the co-writers, how did you guys meet, and how did you decide to make this into a film?
Rob?
Go first, Rob. Go first.
I met Kate when she was about 3 months old, and
Wow.
I have known her literally her whole life. Her parents were friends, and we played volleyball together, and Kate was on a blanket in the corner of the gym getting hit by stray volleyballs. And when she graduated from college, she approached my wife, who was a novelist, about being an assistant, a writer's assistant. And gradually over time, she assisted me. I saw her talent and suggested that we collaborate on this story, given the fact that she was a young woman, almost exactly the same age as Cecilia Payne, when Cecilia Payne discovered the nature of the universe. And also that she was both spiritually and in sort of in every way a perfect match to play the role, not just of Cecilia, but of Grace Campbell, the real protagonist of the movie, the person who is obsessed with this injustice. Kate, your turn.
I think that's a really good overview. Rob is being rather humble because I was assisting Rob, and he had the idea originally for this sort of story of this young woman who, well, really he had this story to write about Cecilia Payne, the historical figure. And then he said, maybe we sort of modernize it by telling it kind of allegorically through this young present day woman. And I was helping him sort of, brainstorm and start to write. And he is really an incredibly generous person who is the opposite of of Cecilia's mentors, and he insisted on giving me credit rather than taking it away from me. So Rob is, as I said, not telling the full story out of some sense of, I don't know, but Yes, that's what happened.
When did you know you were going to star in the movie?
I think I didn't know until we were making the movie. Like I knew it wasn't that we had discussed other people, but it was kind of like when no one knew it was even going to happen and become a movie because it was the middle of COVID and all these things. But we didn't, I think, really talk about anyone else. It was always going to be me.
No one else could do the job that you did. You're absolutely a star. Not only is it about a stargazer, but you are the star of the film, and you carry the film in many ways. Although the other leads, which are behind me, this is a scene from Stargazer, one of the fantasy sequences. And the other stars, Matt Bogart and Lee Nico, Lay Nico, thank you. And they are also wonderful. I thought the whole ensemble was really captivating. And so congratulations on putting together such a wonderful film. I mentioned in a previous interview that this film ticked all the boxes for us. Not only do you learn something, I mean, you definitely learn about Cecilia Payne, and it's woven into the screenplay, which is really great. The acting is terrific. And, the way that it's shot is just amazing because there's all these different layers of cinematography where you get the real stuff. Then you get beautifully lit scenes like this one. The makeup is amazing. I mean, everything comes together really, really well. Plus, it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of young people as part of the jury, and they could relate to a lot of what they were seeing. So I think an adult can really enjoy it. A young person can enjoy it. So it made perfect sense for us to screen it. So my next question to you is, Alan, please tell us where this film was shot, because it does have a Jersey connection.
Yes. So we shot at Rider University, which is a wonderful campus near Trenton, between Trenton and Princeton. And I had just started teaching there in the cinematography and film department. And so this opportunity came up just as we had just filmed a short film in the library on campus. And then I got Rob and Kate's script that all called for an academic library. And so in the initial stages, I said, okay, I think we can do this. I'm not going to promise, but I think we can get this campus, even though it's COVID, even though everywhere else is shut down. And we have a wonderful Dr. Sean Kildiaz, the head of the film department there, and he was gung-ho to just get us in. We hired all these great students we had been training as our core crew, and then we had a lot of New York City based professionals who were the keys. So they got to train the students in a second layer of training that they had, to add on to what they'd learned, in the previous semesters from their professors. So Rider University really came through in a big way and was, instrumental in making this film happen.
Also, because you two are professors, I wanted to mention that we had this role written for an expert in her field. And a co-parent at my kid's school was Annette Gordon Reed, the MacArthur Genius Grant winning, Pulitzer Prize winning, remarkable human being on the Harvard Law School faculty. And I asked her about possibly playing herself and starring in the movie. And when she texted back or emailed back, sounds interesting, I knew that she would do it. That was sort of a miracle.
Did you guys shoot her remotely?
She drove out to we got a car for her to go out to Rider to New Jersey, and Alan shot her on green screen and then miraculously and seamlessly pasted her into the world of the movie.
She reminds me a lot of the supreme being in Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. Where she kind of comes in.
That's a really great analogy.
I mean, she just takes over the screen, and she's like the Deus Ex Machina character in plays, and I love that. She's really wonderful too. Tell me a little bit about the locations. I wrote them all down. You shot in a subway. Mm-hmm. You shot in some office complex way up in, I guess, Manhattan, right? You shot on the streets. You shot in a chem lab. And then I also had the Rider campus, of course. We have the library, which is one of the key places. And I thought about other movies that had libraries in them. I thought of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, and there's so many others. But the way you guys use the library, those tracking shots through the shelving, it's just brilliant stuff. So I mean, was that something you scripted or
That was, yeah, that was in the script. You know, that since there's this element of you know, sort of Greek mythology, that's the second layer to the science. So the original science is mythology, right? So you know, there's a big component of that is looking, right? You always have a god seeing a nymph through the woods, or you know, but this time we have the goddess seeing the nymph, and so we have a little gender reversal there. And so that was in the script. But then one of the key components for me for directing this was I didn't, since it was based on a play, I wanted to remove the play aspect as much as possible. So I wanted to have the characters moving through the space, not be confined to a table or to a certain spot. So having the, I had a previous student of mine who's become a Steadicam operator. He operated the whole movie. We had an A-cam on steady the whole time. And that just gave the actors the room to maneuver however we decided was best for the choreography, and then the camera just would react to them. So I just wanted a very active camera to just constantly be, you know, bringing us into the next moment.
I'd love it if Kate, could you tell about how you prepared for this? Because it was pretty extraordinary how you prepared for that kind of constant flow of having to be working nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, we sort of tried to make it as not like a play as possible in terms of its translation to visual, or to the screen, but we prepared for it like a play in rehearsing for it. With Lay and Matt, who are the other, you know, two kind of co-stars. We all sort of just camped in Westchester where Rob lives, and we kind of had like theater camp where we just like every day rehearsed. So we really knew all of our lines. We didn't have to prepare before. You know, oftentimes you're being handed a page before you walk onto the set, but that was not the case here. And it allowed us to be very improvisational but also confident in a kind of both in our movements and our relationships and all of that. So I think that's what Rob's referring to. And it certainly is what allowed us to shoot like, I don't know, 18 pages a day some days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that you had all these locations and it kind of culminates on the campus, you know, it's like a funnel and you're sucked into where you're going to be. But the film is also very choreographed, like the scene behind me. There's a lot of dance moves. I mean, her character Diana is a dancer. And I mean, how difficult was it to literally kind of become like a dancer, Kate? I mean, you have to move in tandem. I mean, I think you did a magical job. I mean, you can't take your eyes off of you. So I think that's a wonderful thing. But all the characters are really easy to look at. And I mean, I think sorry.
No, I cut you off. But I'm just going to say that we knew when we were casting Diana that Lay in real life was a dancer, which was a huge help and there was another a couple of people we were considering who didn't have dance backgrounds, and we were just like, I don't know how that's going to work. And Matt is a Broadway trained and a Broadway performing actor and been in many musicals and certainly has his fair share of dance background. So I was really the kind of the weakest link.
A novice. But no, I don't think so. I think you carry yourself really well. You flow. The movement, I think, is also you know, going from space to space, and facial expression. You're so expressive with your eyes. I think that, you know, you kind of move that way and you keep the viewer interested. So I think that really was another absolutely wonderful part about the film. Tell me a little bit about these layers of fantasy and how they kind of weave together. I mean, this is not, the scene behind me is not, it's fabrication, correct? Whose fabrication is it?
So this is one interesting thing is, so this is Kate's or
Lay's.
Grace's. So it's both Grace's fantasy and Lay's fantasy. So the movie starts with Grace's imagination, and then Spike Randall, the reporter's imagination, kind of takes over as she feels underconfident in sort of telling her story. She feels like she needs this reporter to help her tell the story at the start. So he adds color. So we start out with these black and white kind of 1920s silent movie kind of looks.
Mm.
And then he adds color. And then Lay adds another.
Well, Lay's character is named Diana, or the goddess of the hunt in the Roman
right,
tradition.
exactly.
Yeah, so she, in Kate's and my mind, this is a tiny spoiler, she is a goddess on Earth. There are people in our lives whose behavior constitutes goddess behavior, you know,
right.
Kate in my life, for instance. So, I mean, Diana is a goddess in Grace's life. So that is, and she acts that way. She is a disruptor, sort of like Shiva, and she's a disruptor, and also she takes Grace to a higher level of competence and confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really nice how each character adds a new way of imagination, a new way of telling stories. So a lot of this movie is about how do you tell the story in the right way? How do you get people entranced? How do you, build the audience? And, there's no one way to tell a story, obviously, but, we try to sort of explore different avenues of how stories are told and what we can get out of them.
And many times during the filming, the actors were going through personal frustrations that are palpable on the screen in terms of accessing her emotional life. Lay as Diana in that night scene was going through stuff. I know that we all were. I think you feel the personal nature of it in it, and Alan was a beast about capturing that. I mean, he would literally manhandle the camera and just got into it. So also shooting all night brings out emotion, things like that.
Yeah. I think, we're all, the viewer is a voyeur. I mean, there's lots of voyeurism within voyeurism in this film, where Grace sees the interaction between Diana and Spike when she has interest to be with Spike, but now here's somebody else moving in. But that's just one of many moments where we see things as a viewer nobody else sees in some ways, or we're seeing it over the shoulder of somebody else who's seeing it. Was that something also that you wanted to be a prime moving element, Kate, for example, since you're one of the writers?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of when Rob and I were just starting to write about the entire process and beginning the whole thing, we were really interested in these libraries, and we kind of were reminiscing about the nature of libraries and being in college in a library and sort of peeking between stacks and what you see and what you miss and all of these different things, and just the kind of fascination that we both had with exactly the voyeurism of a library. And just college in general, but especially the library, which really is kind of the basis of this film and where the bulk of the action happens. And there's that exact layer of like fantasy happening in a library and fantasy happening in your mind, and the layers of these different places that get layered on top of each other in the film. So certainly it was being considered in the drafting process.
I mean, the gummy sequence, as I mentioned to you, Kate, on the way out from our last interview, the whole perspective changes. We see what you see. And I think, again, more magic from the camera folks, because the whole perspective gets woozy and, we're seeing what you feel. And I think those little special effects, I was curious how you did that. Was it something as simple as using an anamorphic lens, or is it something that was more contrived?
Yeah, we did a little of both, where we did some in camera with the lens effects to kind of help feel a little bit of a drug experience. But one thing I hate in movies is where they get too druggy or too silly with those kind of effects. So I just wanted to, I did one thing in post where I started stretching the image out very slowly over the course of a few seconds as Kate's getting distracted, and I kind of timed the visual effect or the special effect to what Kate was doing, just to have a little bit more of a realistic experiential kind of aspect to that.
What was the most challenging scene in the film?
I think definitely the shooting the whole TV sequence, the whole third act, was originally going to be shot at the end, but due to some construction that happened, in the library, we had to switch up what location. So fortunately, the actors, we had like 2 months of rehearsals, and they were just able to just jump in there. They didn't have to go renew their lines or anything. They really just had it down. Kate, what was that like for you guys from the actor's perspective to just suddenly jump into the end of the movie with almost no warning?
I think, like, I mean, God, I think I blacked out because I don't really remember. But I do remember thinking I was benefiting from my naivete in some ways, because I hadn't shot a movie before of this nature. I've done short films. But so I think in some ways my lack of understanding of the reality or the gravity of the switch was to my advantage, because I was just like, oh, I was I'm in theater actors, and you'd go into rehearsal all the time and they go, we're starting with the last scene, or so it just didn't. I was just like, oh, okay, I think that's fine. I mean, everyone else seems kind of freaked out, but I feel okay. So I think in that way, I'm sure Matt, who is a very experienced actor who's done TV and film and stuff before, probably had a greater understanding of why that was going to be a real challenge. But yeah, so I think that in that way, I was lucky. I was to be ill prepared or something.
But Matt seems on edge and a bit disgruntled, and fortunately, that's exactly how Spike feels in that last scene. So I think it was a really great act of providence that we shot that in that long night on day one, with him feeling really, kind of on his heels and off and losing his power, because it was perfect it turned out to be perfect for the character. But also, Kate, you had to have that kiss, the kiss with Diana, and that's an important thing that we argued about in the writing process. Is it earned? Is it right? But is it as a reconciliation with an aspect of yourself? You played it absolutely beautifully, and you played it as kind of finding it yourself as an actor in a way that I found really moving. I still do every time I see it. So that's a huge credit to you.
Yeah, the emotional honesty in that scene really comes through, which is obviously important. It's the end of the film. All the resolution of all the sort of things that have come up throughout the film have to be resolved here. And it's also it was an interesting kind of change in tone, because there's a comical element. There's a lightheartedness in as serious as the film is. I wanted to keep a good sense of humor throughout it. Whereas at the end here, it's just like it really becomes so dramatic. And but I was so happy with how everybody just really was so beyond knowing their lines that everyone could just jump into it. And we figured out the shots. We got all the coverage. It's really complex coverage, lots of movement throughout the whole space and everything. It really, I just couldn't have been happier with it, though.
One tiny footnote: another really difficult thing to shoot was in the rain, in the woods, with all of the sound and all of the the digital equipment getting soaked with rain. People were absolutely stalwart and nonstop. The producer was a producer from the Saturday Night Live film unit. He'd produced 3 units at SNL, and he knew work ethics. And he said the work ethic on this film was off the charts. To stand in the rain for 7 hours and not say, "Oh, my stuff's going to get wrecked." People were really with us.
Yeah.
The film itself definitely shows that people were committed because it's pulled off. You care about the main characters. You are into their world, and like I said, you're also dealing with a real person. I mean, trying to promote a real person, which I did not know. I mean, I Googled it and I said, wow, she really exists, and the astronomer, and I found out, wow, she really did get screwed. So the film, it has its feminist elements, and it's so rewarding to see guys kind of being part of this movement to help give women equal footing in the world, which unfortunately still is not there. But I think with guys like us helping gals like Kate and the people in real life like Cecilia, that the world will hopefully get to be a better place.
Well, Al, I wanted to add to that. It's not just that we show the injustice, of Cecilia's story,
Yeah.
but that we show it to people who might be disenfranchised, not just women, but Black and brown people, people who don't consider themselves included in the conversation of STEM or the opportunities in academic or other realms, people who might get some confidence from seeing the confidence that Grace builds for herself. That's the reason for the film, I think, and that's what makes me extremely proud of the 60 people who worked on it.
Yeah, you guys should be very proud. Folks, since we're running out of time, I wanted to share screen. And let me make sure I've got everything set up here. And I want to show you guys how to buy tickets. Well, you guys don't have to worry about buying tickets because you don't have to buy any. Let's just do it this way. All right, so normally folks would go to our homepage, which is njfilmfest.com. For the record and for you guys, you should know this is our location where the festival in-person screenings will take place. This is a background shot of Voorhees Hall. This is the website that we normally would have everything here. But as we're a hybrid festival, we're using Eventive as our streaming provider. We've been using them now for 3 years, and Sundance just started using them. So we're ahead of the curve in some ways. You just click on current events, and it'll bounce you down to this page. You need to absolutely press this red button, but this will give you basic information about when the festival is being held, where, how much, and then you click on the buy tickets button. That'll bounce you to our welcome page, which again gives you basic information. There's driving directions if you're going to come to the screening. You do need to register your car so you can park for free in the university lots. That's all on that page. But then to buy tickets, you would click on ticket screenings. And then I got to do, well, we got to go down one more because since you guys are the last screening, this is where it would be. And this is a shot of Kate in the film. You just hover over this and it would come up. You want to learn more, you bounce to the actual page. There will be a short film called Meet Cute, which is an animation, which kind of fits. And that's by Sean Tilling. He's a Canadian filmmaker. And then description about the film, and to order tickets, you just hit pre-order now. The great thing about using Eventive is you have 24 hours to watch the movie. So let's say you start watching at 11:45 on June 11th in the evening. You still have 24 hours to finish watching the film. So it's actually more than 24 hours, but the film is available for you for 24 hours once you start watching. You want more information about the festival, there is the film guide, which gives you individual boxes with all the various films. And here's a nice poster for Stargazer. And again, a page with just this information. And then you can always go back to menu, which allow you to look around a little bit more. Our schedule page is very linear, and you can scroll down and see all the nice films that we're offering. You ever want to buy tickets, you just click on the tickets button. So I'm going to stop sharing because I think that gives folks a nice overview. And stop sharing. And so we got 711 films, which is a lot for us. Sundance gets thousands. We're a medium-sized film festival, but we are the longest running juried film festival in New Jersey. We're based at a university. I founded this back, well, the original festival is called the New Jersey Film Festival. That one is biannual, and it runs in the fall and the spring. And then I got a challenge grant, well, not me, but the New Jersey Media Arts Center, which is the sponsoring entity, got a challenge grant from a variety of different foundations to set up this international film festival in 1996. So this one is 28 years old, and we've shown so many great films, and yours ranks as one of the best that we've ever shown. So I'm really, really very proud to be presenting a New Jersey premiere of this screening on June 11th. Kate, Rob, Alan, many of the cast members, other crew members will be there. There will be an opportunity to do a Q&A with them after the screening. So come and hang out with us. It's the last screening of the summer for us, and we'll be really proud to have as many people as we can come to the space. The space seats 250, and if we sell out all those, there's a backup space too that seats another 100. So
wow,
anyway,
amazing.
Thank Thanks so much, you guys. I'm so proud to be able to talk to you again, because I love your film and I look forward to sharing it with New Jersey in a couple of weeks. Well, more than a couple of weeks, for a month's time, there and abouts. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Al. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.